You know, like one of the reasons that I'm not so angry anymore is because I worked so hard at loving myself. I keep a mirror beside my laptop so that every day I can pull this mirror out and I look in the mirror and I say, Vivek, I love you, man. You're doing a good job. You're trying your best. You're making mistakes every day, but you're trying your best. And I stare right into my eyes and I try and really convince myself that I love myself. And doing that kind of thing, like every time I look in a mirror, that's what I try and do. Even in the elevator, I always use the elevator to my most place, to ride up, to stare. I take that moment to myself, to stare into the mirror and look at myself and remind myself. And so that's part of the deprogramming and reprogramming, right? It's finding our way. It's because when we're born, when we're this young age, there's like this the pure light of consciousness that we are is unobstructed by the layers that we adults have. And then slowly, no, you can't do this, no, you can't eat that, no, this is the wrong way to behave, that's the wrong way, wrong. These layers, we can't even see our own light anymore. You know, we can't even see our own love anymore for ourselves. And so finding our way through that, back to that original sense of ourselves, relationship with ourselves, is so profound, so important. The second relationship as a model is how you treat your kid, right? So my relationship with them, how I treat them, I want to model the cooperation of cleaning up their toys, the mess that they made. I won't just go and clean it up and put it in the box. I'll go and clean it up and I'll say, I'm cleaning this stuff up because I love you, because I love helping out, and I love kind of like the whole feeling of the whole family working together. And these are your toys, and I'm picking them up and it makes me happy to do it. Again, I don't say that you should also do that, but I'll just say that, you know. And then I'll do it with the joy that I just professed that I'm doing it with, and that's modeling that, you know. And then I do it, and I go on to something else. And it really doesn't take long for kids to tune into that behavior pattern once they feel safe enough in their environment to do that. But that's challenging. So the way I interact with them is the next model, and then the way I interact with my environment, other people in my environment, my partner, my family, the person who's checking me out at the grocery store. Grocery store is one of the best opportunities to model, you know. It's like people that are cashiers, it's like an assembly line. It's almost not humans anymore, right? And the people checking out the groceries, it's not so human anymore. And I use that grocery store checkout every time as an opportunity to connect human to human with the person that every time, if I have the energy, lost in my own stuff or whatever. But that's been an evolving process as well. But I'll always say, how's your day been? Have customers been nice to you today? Do you have any difficult? How many hours are you working? What are you doing this weekend? And that kind of thing. Just, she has this. She's constantly been kind of steeped in this environment where she sees me acting this way, sees me interacting this way. Now, it doesn't mean you have to do that. What it means is tune into your own values for how you want to interact with people, and then from your own values, try and live that way as much as you can, right? And talk about how it feels to you and what the benefits are to yourself and the other person. And again, avoiding the temptation of saying that's what you should do. Or, if they don't do it that way, you should have done it that way. Or if they don't do it that way and they suffer for it, I told you so. all those things feel like we're kind of pushing them in the direction we want, but you know that those kind of coercive things always push kids away from feeling open to the influence that we have. Wonderful opportunity to practice loving yourself. Even when we do that, we can still model learning how to forgive ourselves, and then and learning how to apologize, and then modeling out an apology, like every single moment. Because I mentioned I'm a mistake-making machine, really all the time, and the coercion comes out. Even I've been practicing for 20. I've been practicing longer than 20 years, but with my kid, I've been practicing for 20 years, and it still comes out. I'm quicker at catching it, and I'm quicker at turning it around, but it still comes out. And so it's every time it's an opportunity to model that. But now I can say to her, now that she's 20, or even younger, but I can say to her, the reason I did that is because my own trauma came out. My own stuff from my past came out. And I was treated this way as a kid, and so it comes out that way. I never want to do that to you, and here's how I would have preferred to have done it. And this is what I'm going to work on moving forward. It's like an encapsulation of my apology workshop. I want to talk about the ingredients of the cooperative mindset. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 that I have here. The first one is caring for the experience of... Does anyone have any questions or comments or anything before I go on to the next section? All right. So we talked about inspiring the desire, and these are kind of the ingredients, the basic ingredients. The first one is caring for the experience of others. I often hear people say that young children aren't able to access empathy, and that empathy only kind of gets turned on at a certain age. But I have noticed from the youngest of children that when they feel the space and the connection, and to feel that empathy, that it comes out naturally. And I've seen it over and over again, from the youngest child to the oldest. So often, when kids feel our judgment, when they make mistakes, or when they're rude or disrespectful, or they don't listen, or whatever, or any number of things that cause us to have triggers, when they feel our judgment around that, when they feel they feel they're being restricted, their autonomy is restricted, they have to go into a self-protective mode. And when they go into a protective mode, their attention can't so much be on the community space. Well, they end up with a self-centered focus rather than a community-centered focus. Because it's not safe to put myself out there. It's vulnerable to be in a community-centered focus. And that's the next one. So the first one is caring for the experience of others. It's being able to like look at the other person and feel for their experience. But if I'm protecting myself, it's dangerous to open up and do that for the other person. I have to only think, how am I going to get my needs met? How am I going to receive this approval or avoid the disapproval? Or the punishment or the consequence, or from the subtlest disapproval to the worst thing like isolating and spanking and that kind of stuff. And yet when kids feel cared for, it awakens in them the instinct to care for others. And the instinct to care for others is like almost the foundation of cooperation. And it's similar to that, but it's a little bit different, is caring for mutual meeting the mutually meeting the needs of everybody in the community. And it can be the work community, the school community, but we're talking specifically about the home community, right? Mutual meeting is about like being aware that when all of us have a certain degree of our needs met, the maximum possible needs that can get met, when all of us have it, we're all happier. That if I get all my needs met and you don't, none of us can be as happy as if we and connected and harmonious and enjoy our life on a day-to-day basis as if we're all working together to get all of our needs met as much as we can. Which automatically means that some of my needs might not get met when I work to help someone else's get their needs met. And for a kid to willingly let themselves not have their needs met so that more of the community can have their needs met, it's hard. We don't see that very often in young people. So the first one is caring for the experience of others. The second is caring for mutual need meeting. The next one is caring for the shared ecosystem. And I mentioned the word ecosystem before. Every part of the system affects every other part of the system. And, an ecosystem, a natural ecosystem, it evolves in such a way that it's able to absorb a certain amount of toxicity into it, Like if you dump some waste into an ecosystem, if something toxic goes into it, it can absorb it to a certain degree, and then after a certain point, it can't anymore. With foreign toxins coming in. But it's designed to be able to be self-sustaining. That's the idea. And so much of the personal work that we do and the work in our relationships with our kids, it creates the ability for it to absorb difficult moments, because we're always going to have difficult moments with our kids. And those difficult moments, if we know how to manage them, they don't layer and layer and layer. It's that same feeling of protection. So if I'm sitting in the living room and I'm looking at all my toys, I'm like 4, and I'm looking at all my toys all over the room, and I feel this sense like, if I don't pick up those toys, I'm going to lose the approval of my parents, or I'm going to get some kind of consequence. Or or if I do it, I'll get more approval. Or if I'm protecting myself in any way, then it's hard for me to tune in to what makes most sense for the community, what makes most sense for the physical environment, for our mental and emotional environments, for our relational environment. I can't really tune into them. And all of these things interact with each other. You know, the physical environment affects our mental and emotional environment. Our mental and emotional environment affects our relationship. And the relationship ends up affecting how the house ends up being and how we work together. And all these things all interact with each other. And so, which is why I love the word ecosystem. I didn't come up with the word ecosystem for this, I should say. I got it from my friend Tanya Williams, who's like this brilliant woman who lives in Kitchener, Ontario. She's part of a learning community run by another woman named Jean Robertson. They call it the Upstart Collaboratory. So it's a collaborative laboratory. And the stuff that I'm teaching, the stuff about like non-coercive parenting, how to work cooperatively, they're doing the same work, but they're doing kind of like on a broader scale in society. How can we move all of society into this new way of thinking, right? Where we don't have power over each other, but we're sharing power with each other, and we're working to collaborate, and we're paying attention to the whole being, all together of each of us. And then also noticing that we're all integrated with each other. Have to be, you know? Like Tanya says that the happiness and well-being of a person on the other side of the planet that I will never meet is absolutely important to me and integrated into my own well-being. And if we can think that way, and then think that way about our family as the small immediate community, and then take that out into the larger community, it's so beautiful. And giving the kids the feeling that it's safe for them and makes sense for them. Makes sense for them. Not just makes sense because we say it makes sense, but it makes sense for them in their lives to actually increase the quality of their lives, that it makes sense for them to care about the shared ecosystem. That's inspire the desires. There's just no way to do, there's no way to force that mindset, you know. But we can be a model, guide, and friend to create that mindset. And that's a beautiful way of doing it. And the last one is feeling a sense of equal ownership and right to the living space. And that's a hard one, especially when the kid wants to write on the wall, or play with something that could break, or all sorts of things. And there's the sense that, you know, like, I mean, the traditional, what I grew up with, this is my house, and as long as you're in my house, you're going to follow my rules. But the fact is, even the smallest shade of that mindset creates this distance. If it's your house, that means it's not my house. It's not my home. That means, where am I? Where is my home? And I didn't really choose to come here. maybe on some meta level we can believe that they did, but at that moment, the 2-year-old doesn't know that. They're just there, you know? And I really try my best. Now, of course, there are things that we have to settle. I mean, if you have a TV, you don't want the kid to break the TV every week. You don't want glass smashed on the floor, because then people are going to cut their feet. There are things that make sense. You don't want a 2-year-old to try and drive the car. There's some things that make sense to say no to and to set limits around. But I have found that with parents that we can let go of a lot of the things that we try and hold on to. And you only often share that in Gentle Parents Unite about how if we really examine the things that we hold limits on, that we can let go of probably like at least half, maybe more. I try and say 90%, but then I get yelled at a lot of the time. But we can let go. And plus we can create our physical environment in such a way that we don't have to, you know, set any limits.
So does this include, like, for example, just giving in to letting the mess be? I mean, because, like, she was mentioning, like, say, like, they make a mess with their toys, you know what I mean? Like, she was talking about going and doing it, but then at what point, if they're not actually, you know, there's, like, a disconnect sometimes in not getting them to actually contribute or cooperate, and then I'm still ending up doing it all the time, and it still causes emotions and me to feel maybe overwhelmed, or like all the pressure is on me to handle.
Absolutely, and unappreciated, unsupported.
So is there an alternative way to say no? Or is that still just one thing where the only way to really is to just inspire it?
Yes.
To come to the point to inspire.
Absolutely. In the philosophy that I share, and I say the philosophy I share, but it's really the life that I've lived. Because it's not only my kid, but like I volunteered in her school like all the way from kindergarten to grade 8. I was there every single day. And so I worked with like hundreds of kids. And I volunteered with a youth organization from the time she was really young as well. So I've always been interacting with young people. And I have found that the only way to get the kind of relationship and community system where everyone is cooperating and working together and paying attention to them, the only way is through connection and non-coercive relating. That inspiring the desire from the inside out. Because every time we come at something from a place of authority, every time we come at something from a place of power, it creates the sense that they have to protect themselves. When we take away their autonomy, they have to protect themselves. Right, so let me just say those again. So the first one was, these are the ingredients, the inspire the desire, the ingredients of cooperation. The first one is caring for the experience of others. The second is caring for mutual need meeting. The third is caring for the shared ecosystem. I love that word. And the fourth is feeling a sense of equal ownership and rights of the living space. I remember once my daughter said to me, "Dad, can I open a yogurt?" I thought, the yogurt is yours as much as it is mine, kiddo. Just because I'm, like we're the ones that go out and buy it doesn't mean that this is before she had a job and joyfully contributes to the house monetarily. But before that, and I actually took her to the kitchen. I said, "Listen, this yogurt is much yours." And see, now here's the thing, like she's like 16 at the time. Even though she was brought up that way all along, she still is going to be influenced by the world and the way her friends' parents are, what she sees on TV and stuff like that. So like a lot of the work that I did was trying to like combat those influences, creating that sense of community. And it's hard. It's hard because as soon as we're not getting it, there is a tendency to want to push. You feel a lot better if you helped me with this. It would be our home would be a lot happier if you helped me with this. Fine. I try to avoid the fine as much as possible. And if I see the fine, I'll say, actually, I really want... Okay, wait. Let me go on to the next thing. Because I'm going to go off like in a totally different direction. All right. Actually, it is exactly that. The fine is the next thing. Fine is, when a kid says fine, and then they get up to do it, they get up to help, the problem with that is it's a forced, false cooperation. It's giving in. It's not cooperation. Yeah? And you said that the other day. It's giving in. And giving in is not cooperation. I want cooperation. I don't want giving in. Because giving in is going to build resentment, and the resentment is either going to create acquiescence or resistance. And compliance or resistance are two sides of the same coin. We often say that punishment and rewards are two sides of the same coin. And in the same way, compliance, which is when you just say fine and you do it, or resistance, we say no, I'm not going to do it. They're both coming from a sense of protecting ourselves, a sense of wanting the approval that I'm afraid I might not get, or trying to avoid the disapproval that I know I'm going to get. And that could be, again, that the approval could be a reward, or it could just be like, my mom's happier with me when I'm like this, or my dad's more unhappy with me when I'm like that. Doesn't matter what shade of it is, what subtle amount of it is, or a huge amount. It causes us to have to change the way we act based on trying to get those things from other people. And it affects all of our relationships, whether it's compliance or resistance, what it isn't tuning into my organic moment. What's right for me in this moment? What's true for me in this moment? What are my values and principles? It's not tuning into those things. And I want to believe that if I can get my kids to really tune into if I can get kids, if I can get people, if we can get, I say get, I don't even like the word get, inspire, it's my own thing, right? If we can inspire and nurture the sense of what is real for you, what is your value, that it will be cooperative, that it will be connecting. And if we don't believe that, then we have to force. But if we do believe that, we can take the long path of helping them see themselves, helping them find themselves. I didn't get a chance to do that when I was a kid. I didn't have a chance to tune into myself at all. And it's basically screwed all my relationships, I have the title that I have here for the next thing are what are the risks of compliance? And compliance sounds, for traditional parenting, it sounds desirable. And for me, it terrifies me. I don't want compliance from my kid. Because compliance is, again, it's doing something that's not in alignment with your own values. And it affects all of our relationships, our friendships, our work relationships, our intimate relationships. Like when I'm with my friends, and people who are close to me, they notice it about me. When I'm with my friends, I'm always afraid I'm going to say the one thing, and they're going to know that I'm not a good person, and they're going to leave me. When I'm teaching this stuff, which is a little bit controversial at times, I'm always afraid, people are just going to reject me, no one's going to listen to me, and I'm going to be alone. And all my friends are going to leave me. And I've always had this, anticipation of rejection inside of me, anticipation of disapproval inside of me, And it's a hard, heavy way to live, honestly. That's why I do micro meditations too. I give myself a moment of love. But it's hard to live that way. I don't want my kid to have to be burdened with that as she goes out into the world. I don't want her to think that my approval of her is dependent on how she behaves and what she does. And I know that in intimate relationships too, in intimate relationships, especially if there's a sexual component, there can be a sense of, I have to offer or give sex, or do sex. All those words are awful, but anyways, in order to keep the approval, or to not be rejected, or to be worthy, and to have an intimate relationship that comes from deep connection and shared values and exploration of life together, like that. There's so much joy and potential in that. I was never taught how to do that, have those kind of relationships. None of my friendships. None of my work relationships. People always say, another thing I hear a lot is, kids have to learn because when they go out into the workforce, blah, blah, blah. I know, I'm about to turn 50. I've been both a boss, a manager, and an employee. I've been all those things. And I know that when I have someone working for me who's really engaged and interested, it's so much different than someone who's just doing their job. I would much rather have someone who's a little less skilled, but really committed and into it and really cares, Because then I know I can leave the donut shop and the money isn't going to get stolen. My mom used to own a donut. I say that because my mom used to own a donut shop when I was in high school. And every time I go to a donut shop, I still remember high school. The smell of coffee was on me all the time. And it was in a bit of a rough area in Scarborough, and there were these kids who would come in every day, and they would order one coffee, and 6 of them would sit around the table, and they would chat and be loud and really aggressive. And every single day, the ringleader of these kids would take the coffee cup like this, and he would look at my mom right in the eye, and he would do this. And it would smash and break into the floor. And my mom is so beautiful. I love her. She learns every day. She works so hard. And she would go to them, and she would clean it up, and she'd say, it's no problem. I'll clean this up for you. I appreciate that you folks are here giving us your business. Thank you for coming. And she would. Every single day. Weeks this went on. And then one day a new kid came to join this group. And he knew they did this, so he was doing this like this. And he was about to drop it off. And the ringleader who did it every day, he said, stop. She's cool. And from that day on, all these kids would go into her office asking her for support, asking her for emotional support, telling them about their families. And then when she would have to leave the donut shop alone, she would leave those kids in charge, not even her employees. Because if she would leave the employees in charge, she would always come back to money gone. But those kids who were clearly ruffians, as we say, the bad element that you don't want your kid hanging out with, they loved her so much from receiving this unconditional acceptance, unconditional care, and acknowledgement of who they are, beneath the behavior, seeing what's underneath the behavior, that they just gave her, all of her heart. Really not, but to relearn that kind of relating to people was so hard because we didn't have that when we were young. Let's do a one breath micro meditation together, shall we?
All right.
I'll count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. I didn't want to feel rushed and pressured. I want to be just continuing. The list is actually long, but things that specifically obstruct cooperation. I have 4 on the list. 1 is power struggles. 2 is authority, 3 is threatened autonomy, and the 4th is punishment and consequences. Power struggles. I recently just did 2 workshops on power struggles. I did a talk in front of 50 parents a couple of weeks ago, which was really exciting, on power struggles as kind of an introduction. And I did a 2-hour live broadcast on my page. My social media is Meaningful Ideas. So if you want to follow me on Meaningful Ideas, I'd appreciate it. On Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube.
Are you on YouTube?
Yeah.
We have lots of helpful videos.
Yeah, right? There's over 30, hi sweetie. There's over 30, that's a big smile. Oh, wonderful, thank you for telling me that. Yeah, and the 2 of the most recent ones were both about power struggles. So...
What was 2? Can you repeat that again?
Yes, I'm going to definitely. Power struggles is the first. And I'm not going to go too much into power struggles because those videos are there and there's like 3 hours of information there. But power struggles, they just wear on the relationship between parent and kid. And the second one is authority. And authority is a sense of how we use our power. Now, parents have power over their kids. They have systemic power over their kids. And systemic power is power that we don't choose and we can't refuse. So, for example, we have economic power over our kids because they can't make money. We have housing power over our kids. How many 15-year-olds are on the street? We have access to resources power over our kids. And up to a certain point where they disengage, we have emotional power over our kids. We have mental power over kids, and we have physical power over kids. We can lock them in a room. We can make them sit in a chair using physical and emotional coercion. We can do all these things. We can also choose not to do them, but we still have the power. And how we use that power, if we feel we have this authority over them, which is different than being with them, still protecting them and caring for them and helping them learn what they need to learn. But thinking that we have authority over them means they're under. And as soon as they're under, that self-worth is going to be like all over them that way, right? It damages deeply. And it makes it hard to want to cooperate. Threatened autonomy. Autonomy, the feeling of being free to do what we want. And boy, if I noticed that enjoying interacting with one of the 4-year-olds for the last 10 days, the moment that sense of autonomy is threatened, everything, all hell breaks loose, right? And often what happens is, and again, that either goes through compliance or resistance. And both are equally painful. And we don't want that. We want organic cooperation. So my daughter has a friend who was brought up in a very traditional household. And when he came over to when her friends used to come over to our house, at first it was like going into the Twilight Zone. They'd never seen parents interact with their kids this way, without authority and rules and all that kind of stuff. And he was telling me that because of the authoritarian relationship he has with his parents, the authority, he was telling me if he's getting out of the shower, and his mother knocks on the door and says, "Get out of the shower," even though he's already getting out of the shower, he'll go back in for 5 minutes. Even if he doesn't want to shower more. Like his body told him he's done. And he denies his own self so he can go back in and maintain that sense of his own power. So he's not getting out when he was told to. So when kids get that sense that they have to do what they're told to, they're going to find they're going to either comply or they're going to do that. Find a way around. I think I went through like 8 years where I never brushed my teeth. Because I was always pushed to brush my teeth. And my parents would check the toothpaste. Are you on your way?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay, good. And the parents would check they would smell my breath, they would check the toothpaste the toothbrush to make sure it was wet. So every day I would go in and I would wet the toothbrush, I'd put a little toothpaste on the toothbrush, I'd put a little toothpaste over here, so when they smell my breath, it smelled like I had brushed my teeth. Honestly, 8 years I think I did. I'm surprised my father got full of cavities because of it. But I was not going to let my autonomy be restricted like that. And that was my one little way I was able to rebel in all this oppression that I felt. And the last one is punishment and consequences. And punishment and consequences. Nice shades, kiddo.
Wait, 4 and 5, or is it together?
Together. Okay. Yes. Because consequences is kind of like a softer word for
punishment. Okay.
Yeah. And it really is punishments, consequences, and rewards. Because all of those things are saying there's an external reason why you should behave this way, not an internal reason why you could behave this way, why you choose to behave this way, right? If you don't behave this way, this is going to happen to you. Or if you do behave this way, you'll get this, but you won't get it if you don't. And all those things put the focus outside of ourselves. outside of the relationship, Even a relationship is still an internal thing. The feelings are still an internal thing. And a relationship also has an external component because it's about the two of us. But it's not like an external motivation. Because the moment that leverage is gone, the moment we can't threaten and we can't bribe is gone, the motivation to do the thing is gone too. And our influence is gone. And I did not want my influence gone when I had when that coercive leverage was gone. I wanted to have, because coercive leverage decreases over time, relational leverage increases over time. I love that saying. And
say it again?
Yes, coercive leverage decreases over time. Relational leverage increases over time. My daughter at 21 is so open to our influence. And the main reason is because she knows, like I mentioned earlier, she knows that she has the freedom to do it or not do it, and she's also seen us work on ourselves and grow and learn as people over the years. So she knows we're in a learning process with her. So, the four things: power struggles, authority, threatened autonomy, and punishment consequences obstruct cooperation. And what enhances cooperation is, the first one is the relationship, right? Creating a relationship of respect and connection. That's about deep listening, deep validating of their experience. That's why empathy with kids is so important. Instead of starting with a correction when kids do something, if we start by acknowledging their experience, I can see that you're really upset right now. Of course you'd be upset right now. This kind of thing happens to anybody. I feel upset in situations like this too. And when you give them that kind of sense that you see their feelings and you're with them in their feelings. And that was EARS, by the way. For anyone who knows EARS, I have an empathy system with empathy called Use Your Ears. It stands for empathize, acknowledge, relate, and solve. And solve means problem solving. I have videos and articles written about that, so if you want to look
at it again? Sorry.
Yes, it's empathize, acknowledge, relate, and solve.
What was the meaningful
ideas? Yes. And it's on the event page. The event page is through meaningful ideas, so you can find that one too. So, and I mentioned acknowledgement and appreciation. Both of those things are really important. Today I was brushing my teeth with Erhan, the 4-year-old, and we were brushing our teeth together using a cartoon timer for 2 minutes. And then after we were done, he was like, "Vivek, let's clean the mirror." And so he took his toothbrush and he had me his brother's toothbrush, and we were cleaning the dirty mirror with his toothbrush. Now my first instinct was to say, "Bro, that's going in your mouth. That's not an appropriate use of the toothbrush. Let's find something else." But then I tuned in. I was like, he wants to clean. He sees the mess, and from his own spontaneous thing. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to complain about any part of this. So I grabbed the toothbrush. I was like, "Bro, let's do it." And we were cleaning this mirror. And in my mind, I'm thinking, "Oh man, I'm going to have to buy new toothbrushes." But I mean, you can wash the toothbrush, right? But you can't. But like the opportunity. And then I started talking about it. I started saying, "Wow, we're cleaning up. We're contributing to the household, and we're doing it together. It's so much fun. And we're making the mirror clean." And I know that your mom likes a clean mirror too, doesn't she? Yeah, she does. So like, this is so nice for her too. It's almost like giving her a gift, isn't it? It's so nice to get a gift, isn't it? Oh, I like it when I get a gift. And we had a whole conversation about it while we were doing it, right? This is what the modeling is about. I call it modeling with explanation. So we could have just done it. And I was modeling cooperating. But by talking about it, by giving the context of what was happening, the feeling context, the environmental context, the relationship context, by offering that context, and it's continuously over and over throughout the years, that awareness of that larger context of what's happening seeps into the system. So modeling with explanation is a big one. Showing appreciation is a big one. And another thing I call the gift of no. Honoring the no. So when a kid says no, that's another time to really appreciate and acknowledge. I like to acknowledge the no equal to the yes. So if I say, "Would you like to help me with the dishes?" and she says no, I say, "Thank you for telling me your truth. I really only want you to do it if it feels real to me." I said that to her for years and years. When she was 18, I remember we were driving home and I asked her for help with something and she said no. And I said, "Thank you for telling me no." She said, "Dad, I get it. I know you like it when I say no. You don't have to thank me every time anymore." And I was about to say thank you. And I didn't, and then I laughed at her later about the fact that I was about to say thank you, and she was laughing. And, but like it's really, for her, she really knows that if she doesn't want to do something, that's what I honor the most. And because of that, she's never had to say no to me. And I say never loosely, because like, obviously I make mistakes all the time, like I said. But my primary goal is to do that. And she knows that if she says no, she's going to feel like a celebration from me, you know? And because of that, she's never had to use it as like a defense. She's never had to say no. She only says no when it's organic for her, when it's real for her. And I want her to go out into the world being able to do that. I don't want her going out into the world unable to say no. You know? I lived with that myself so painfully. And I probably don't have time to go through all this, so I'm going to go to the last thing. The last thing that I want to talk about, which is really important, and it connects to what we've been talking about earlier about the anger, is self-care and self-healing. With young kids, especially with young kids in busy life, self-care is so hard. And self-healing, we have so much inside of us that affects how we interact with people, how we interact with our kids, and the kind of like the reactions that we have. Reactions rather than responses, right? And every time we give ourselves some love, some time, some care, first of all, it models that to them. Secondly, it changes our own makeup, our own relationship with ourselves so that we can be more present with them. And the more that we do that, and the more that we heal our own pain of our past, the more that we do that, the more that we're able to hold the space for them and create the environment for them that nurtures, inspires the desire, right? The more that we're able to do that. Because the space that we can hold for them grows and grows and grows. So when the kid speaks to you rudely every day for a few days, you really want to say to them, that's no way to talk to your parents. Don't talk to me that way, I'm just trying to help. What I do again and over and over, I see that you're upset. Thank you for showing me what you're feeling right now so that I can help you. Thank you. I've always, gratitude is another one. That's why I say appreciation. I always show gratitude for whatever their expression is. And from that place, when they feel connected and accepted, then they're willing to open up and learn and grow with us. So that's basically what I wanted to share. Some of the stuff that I'm not sharing is like smaller details. But cooperation. Cooperation is desirable because it meets a whole lot of our needs living in community with other people. It makes us feel valued and cared for, and it makes us feel like we matter. And it gives us a sense of belonging. We also have spontaneous and chosen cooperation, which both of them come from kind of the same place. They come from that relationship that we have with ourselves and with other people. And in order to do it, to create that in our kids, we want to inspire the desire using the three relationships of model, guide, and friend, so that we can inspire them to like care for the experience of others and care for the community, care for meeting each other's needs. We want to avoid forced and false cooperation, which is compliance or resistance, you know. Like, fine, I'll do it. We want to avoid that. As soon as I hear a fine, I'm like, please don't. I don't want you to do it. And I don't want you to do it from that place. It's like, I really don't want you to do it if this isn't what you want. I really don't. So different, right? Yeah. Because I actually do want her to not do it if she doesn't feel like it. I'm not trying to get her to do it, because I trust that she will do it if she can tune into her true self. That's what.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
It's so hard to, just the way that we've been brought up, and it's just so opposite.
It's opposite.
It's going to take some work.
Yeah. I often call this upside down thinking.
It feels like
you know?
it. Yeah.
Because we really turn everything upside down to do this.